Welcome into the very first episode of the Tailscale News. My name is Alex from Tailscale, and we've got lots of stuff to get into today, but we're going to talk about all the different news that's happened in Tailscale Towers over the last few weeks. And obviously this week there was some pretty big news, talking about the Changelog, as well as a bunch of community highlights, and just a bunch of cool stuff that Tailscale's been up to over the last few weeks. Let's get started by addressing that massive elephant in the room. Tailscale is now a Series C funded company. Tailscale was founded back in 2019, and in doing so, the general idea was to fix networking. That was the simple core mission behind Tailscale, to make networking disappear so that you wouldn't have to think about it anymore. No more NAT traversal this, IP address that, or unintuitive VPN configurations that your IT department had told you to download. And 6 years later, millions of people rely on Tailscale daily to connect their home labs, different applications, their phones, their smart homes, their robot vacuums, and all sorts of interesting stuff, including AI workloads, securely and privately together. This makes me super excited to share that Tailscale has just secured $160 million in Series C funding, led by Accel, with participation from CRV, Insight Partners, Heavybit, and Uncork Capital. Now, I put a disclaimer in there of $160 million because, of course, Tailscale is a Canadian company. But for the most part, we're a fully remote company, all of the staff, myself included. There is no office for us to go to. Just to clear up any confusion, that's not Canadian, that's a US dollar figure. Having these VC firms support us is of course fantastic, but we're also excited to have investment from industry leaders such as George Kurtz, who's the CEO and cybersecurity stalwart behind CrowdStrike, and Anthony Casalena, the CEO of website building company, you may have heard of them, Squarespace. This video is not, well, I suppose it is technically brought to you by Squarespace as a consequence. So a big thanks to them and all of our other partners for investing in the future of networking at scale with Tailscale. So as you likely know, if you've watched this channel at all, we pioneer something called identity-first networking. This means when you connect to something with Tailscale, you're not just an IP address connecting to a server, you are you. You're connecting to your app or your teammate or your service with an authenticated, identifiable connection. This identity-first approach has attracted leading AI companies like Perplexity, Mistral, Cohere, and Hugging Face, as well as major enterprise companies like Instacart, SAP, and Duolingo, as well as thousands of other companies. In fact, Tailscale just crossed 10,000 paying customers a couple of months back. So what changes? In the short term, not a whole bunch, really. What won't change, though, is our core mission to making networking just work. That's really important to those of us here at Tailscale. We still care deeply about those using Tailscale, from the individual home labber, like me, on our free plan, to our largest enterprise customers. Now, many times over the years, we've seen companies get certain rounds of funding and lose sight of their founding user base. And we will do everything we possibly can here at Tailscale to ensure that that doesn't happen. And not least of which, because we're remaining a founder-led company. We remain absolutely committed to our free tier, used by many of you in the community for your home labs, amongst other things like connecting to Home Assistant or your Synology remotely, a ton of other cool and interesting stuff. We remain committed to you. And our promise is that the free Tailscale tier will always remain free. We'll also continue to provide free support to those of you that need it in the community, and make sure that every version of Tailscale works with our backward compatibility promise. Now keep an eye on the channel, because next week there'll be a video coming with Avery Penarun and David Carney, two founding members of the Tailscale leadership team. We'll be talking about the community as well as this backward guarantee promise that we make here as well. And just get tuned in, because I think it's going to be a really interesting chat. Now, we'll also continue to focus on removing friction and scaling without complexity. And the idea is to make identity part of the core connectivity experience. With this round of funding, Tailscale are accelerating our engineering and product teams to unlock more things more faster. The AI industry in particular is struggling with rapidly maturing infrastructures, and they're trying to connect to GPUs across multiple clouds, trying to secure workloads across continents and migrate between different providers, like who's got the biggest GPU pool available this week. And Tailscale is uniquely positioned to help those companies solve those challenges. We're also expanding our engineering and product teams. Please check the description for a link down below for our open positions on our careers page, and make our recruitment team happy by applying if you've been on the fence. Please reach out. We would love to hear from you. This expansion means that we're going to get a more reliable product with more features and more of everything that you, our users, and of course we couldn't do this without you, we're building the new internet together, making networking just work whether you're a startup or a Fortune 500 company, or like me, simply running a Factorio server in your basement. We maintain our commitment that free Tailscale accounts will always be free, as I said earlier. And if you want to find out more about how you can support Tailscale's business model, head over to tailscale.com/BTW to find out more about how you can bring Tailscale to work. Now, 5 years is a long time, but 5 years in tech may as well be basically forever. But at the start of April, Tailscale turned 5 years old. I'll link out to a blog post written by one of our founders, David Carney, discussing that journey as he shares 5 things we've learned from 5 years of Tailscale. So from me to you, here's to at least 5 more years of making the internet more personal, private, and more trustworthy than ever. Continuing on with the exciting news announcements this month, we have made our Kubernetes Operator generally available. The Tailscale Kubernetes Operator enables you to securely connect your Kubernetes infrastructure with other resources in your environment. So let's say you have a database that's running in RDS, for example, and you have a Kubernetes cluster that's running on premise, and you need a way to connect the two together. That's exactly what the Tailscale Operator will allow you to do. It does this by creating encrypted and authenticated connections between these resources, regardless of where they're running. As I say, in the cloud or on-premise, in VMs or containers, or at home. The Tailscale Operator for Kubernetes offers 4 key capabilities. First, it provides secure access to your Kubernetes API server without exposing it to the public internet. Secondly, it lets you securely expose internal applications to employees with fine-grained access controls using Tailscale's ACLs and grants. Third, it enables service-to-service connectivity between clusters. And finally, it allows you to deploy Tailscale resources like subnet routers, exit nodes, and app connectors directly into your cluster. For authentication, the operator integrates seamlessly with your existing identity management system, and it allows Tailscale identities such as groups and users and tagged devices to be mapped to existing cluster roles. This enables least privilege access across different personas and use cases as well. So when a user or a device accesses the Kubernetes API server via the proxy, they do so over secure encrypted connections without needing separate cluster credentials. This assumes, of course, that the proxy is running in auth mode. And you can check the description for a link to our documentation about proxying the API server in Kubernetes in auth mode via Tailscale. So when using the operator, you'll find other nice little touches all over the place, such as if a user or device is removed from the tailnet, their access is automatically revoked from the cluster. I've definitely worked in places where I've seen the access logs and people are allowed to access things that left the company 6 months ago. Well, no more with Tailscale's identity-based networking. The operator also supports kubectl exec session recording, storing session content in S3 compatible buckets for security auditing, threat detection, and for compliance purposes as well. This comprehensive authentication approach combines with Tailscale security features like automatic identity sync from external IDPs, device posture checks, and just-in-time access. If you're not familiar with any of this stuff, there's a bunch of videos on the Tailscale YouTube channel. We also run regular webinars. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, myself and my colleague Alan on the SE team did a webinar on just-in-time access. Today, as I record, there was a webinar about replacing your legacy VPN with Tailscale as well. So do have a look in the description for a link to our webinars page and see if there's one that you might be interested in as well. The Tailscale Operator for Kubernetes is available for all Tailscale plans, so whether you're building a small Kubernetes cluster in your home lab or deploying a massive one across huge hyperscale cloud providers, the Tailscale Kubernetes Operator can probably help you out with some of the infrastructure challenges that you've been facing at work. Now, it has been a busy month over here at Tailscale Towers, and in late March, we launched a new initiative called Community Projects. This is a way to showcase all the cool stuff that people are doing with Tailscale and how they're baking it into community projects like Home Assistant, like Raycast, but there's a few other things I want to call out from that page as well. Highlights from this first batch of community tools include a Slack integration called the JIT Access Bot just in time. This is a tool which lets you grant access to specific resources on your Tailnet for a specified amount of time. So for example, let's say I'm entering a maintenance window and I need to access production. I'm an engineer and I need to access a production system, for example. Well, I can submit a request all from Slack without leaving the Slack interface saying, hey, I need access to production for 30 minutes. And then it PMs your manager and says, this person needs access to production. Do you approve? Yes or no? And there's a paper trail and all that kind of good stuff that auditors love to see. There's also TSIDP in there as well, which is described as the world's smallest OIDC provider. And you can see a video about that I made a few months ago up here. The blog post linked in the description, written by Avery, our CEO, has all of the information about the community projects program and more. But we also added to our community arsenal this month by hiring a new community manager. And I sat down with Natasha to ask her how she sees the importance of the Tailscale community in the future.
I am a big proponent of communities being the heart of the organization. I really just love communities because they bring people together. You get to meet people who are super passionate about whatever the thing is, and here it's Tailscale. And one thing that I found in the Tailscale community is that we have thousands of really, really passionate people who care about a product, who care about a problem, and really want to share that. So whether it's somebody who's like connecting all of their devices and really big on networking, someone who's using Tailscale as their VPN, or whether it's just somebody who's not really sure what they want to use it for, but know that they want to give it a go, there's a space for that. And I really, really like that about Tailscale.
So if you'd like to find out more about how to get directly involved in the Tailscale community, one of the easiest ways to do that is come to some of our community meetups. On May the 8th in Seattle at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, we're hosting our very first community meetup. This is about a 15-minute walk from GrafanaCon, which is going to be in town on the same day. We've got Brad Fitzpatrick, who's going to be doing a Q&A about Tailscale and all sorts of interesting networking topics, and probably you could ask him some Go questions as well. And there's going to be a couple of really interesting guest speakers. So please go check the link in the description for the meetup, RSVP, let us know you're coming, and we'd love to see you there. Now, we all know that engineers can be an interesting breed sometimes, but Brad Fitzpatrick, who's one of the Tailscale founding engineers, I think might have taken the cake this month. He decided it would be a good idea to port Tailscale to Plan 9. This is the legendary operating system created at Bell Labs in the late 1980s. What began as a silly prank announced on April the 1st turned into a fully functional implementation, with Brad collaborating with former co-workers from the Go team, such as Russ Cox, to overcome numerous technical challenges to make the port fully functional. No smoke and mirrors, like genuinely, this actually runs. Plan 9 developed as a spiritual successor to Unix, and it was known for its innovative everything as a file approach. So of course, we take that for granted in the Linux world today, but back then in the 80s, Plan 9 was really innovative. The operating system was designed to enable seamless global namespace sharing and distributed computing across networks. And the Tailscale port purportedly required fixing several issues in both Go's Plan 9 support as well as the Plan 9 kernel itself, including implementing proper handling of SSE instructions, developing TON interfaces for networking, and creating routing table manipulations as well. The implementation even features Tailscale SSH, something that not even modern platforms can all universally boast. And this enables secure connections using Tailscale SSH to Plan 9 machines. If you're interested in trying this out for yourself, there is a web-based emulator available at copy.sh/v86. There'll be a link to that in the description down below, of course. Over there is a complete 16 megabyte disk image with Plan 9 and Tailscale available. Now, while this was created as primarily a technical curiosity, as I say, it's a fully functional implementation. And this product demonstrates not only how silly engineers can be sometimes, but how awesome it is to be able to change the world through software. It demonstrates both Tailscale's engineering prowess and Plan 9's enduring legacy in the operating system world. Now it's time for a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, I've already mentioned the webinars, and I know you've already checked those out, but we're also up for an award. Tailscale is up for a Webby award. How exciting. We are in the developer tooling category. So please, if you think Tailscale is a great product, go down to the description, find that link. I know there's a lot of links down there, but please go and vote for us and help us win the Webby Award. That would mean a lot to us over here at Tailscale. Also down there, to reward those of you that have watched this far into the video, thank you by the way, there is a bunch of promo codes. This is a brand new thing available in Tailscale as of recently too. So there's a handful available down there, first come, first serve, and they've got to be used by May the 31st, 2025. And you'll get 100% off 2 months of the Tailscale Personal Plus, starter or the premium tier as well. So first come, first served. There's a few down there. Go check the description and enjoy. And one of the other segments I'd like to do in this monthly news show, and this will be a monthly-ish feature on the channel, is a highlight of certain things that I found interesting in the Tailscale changelog. And you can go over to tailscale.com/changelog if you would like to browse that for some light bedtime reading or something. But my personal highlights were recently in March, we added new DERP regions in both Ashburn, Virginia, as well as one in Helsinki in Finland as well. We also added a new DERP region in Nuremberg in Germany as well. And of course, the DERP servers are how we enable devices that can't make direct connections to each other to still talk to each other through a kind of third-party proxy. It's a free service that we provide for all of our Tailscale users. It helps with things like discovery for NAT traversal, as well as just maintaining those connections securely between different devices that are behind particularly tricky NAT implementations. Another standout highlight for me in the last month or so is we've added the ability to flush your DNS cache directly from the Tailscale client. On a Mac, if you use the Option key, the Alt key, I think, press the Option key and click on the Tailscale logo, you'll get a secret debug menu. And under that menu is now an option to flush DNS cache. I think on Windows it's Control or Alt, I forget which off the top of my head, but that enables a super secret debug menu, and there's a couple of things in there for you to have fun and try out with if you're a Tailscale superfan. And then the final highlight from the changelog this month, at least that I thought was pretty interesting, besides all of the other news that we've talked about in the show already, Kubernetes Operator going GA being probably the big news after we were at KubeCon earlier in the month, is that the Apple TV now supports authentication via auth keys. So you can put it on your clipboard on your iPhone and then copy and paste it to your remote node. This could also be a really easy way to get friends and family to authenticate their remote Apple TVs for you onto your Tailnet without having to give them a username or password. So I think that will about do it. Of course, thank you so much for watching the Tailscale News Show, the very first inaugural episode. A big thank you from me for that. And don't forget, there's a ton of links in the description down below for you to check out, documentation links, as well as some promo codes, webinars, bunch of cool stuff going on. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel, of course, get subscribed. We've got videos coming on Steam Deck remote game streaming. We had one last week on Olama and NixOS. Ton of cool stuff coming. I mean, I would say that because I make all the videos, but still, I think there's some cool stuff coming that you're probably going to really find a lot of utility and value in. So that will do us for today. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Alex from Tailscale.